Okay. So, reading from the Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnanandana Shalakaya Chakshu Udminitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. By my spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisances unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. So we're going to read at least two offerings today. One from ISKCON of Silicon Valley, which is always written by Vyasa-puja, and the other by Giraj Swami, which is also quite lengthy. If we can read another one, we'll have to pick a short one out. Yeah, he likes it. It's a whole account of how he came. Dear Srila Prabhupada, please accept our humble obeisances. Srila Prabhupada, you are a pure devotee who is following Lord Chaitanya through the Parampara system. And the system you established for practicing devotional service in ISKCON is your system and institution. It is therefore potent and able to assist those who follow it to reach perfection in devotional service. Recently, I heard a neophyte devotee tell someone that he was, quote, graduating from ISKCON. He claimed he had found a higher process of bhakti that is beyond the rules that ISKCON devotees follow. Someone had convinced this devotee, who had yet to assimilate your teachings, that ISKCON is for beginners and that to pursue a more advanced path of bhakti, he would have to leave ISKCON and follow another acharya, as well as some other mood and method of devotional service. When I heard this, I was reminded of one of Akura's prayers in Srimad Bhagavatam 10:40-26. Quote, just as a fool overlooks a body of water covered by the vegetation growing in it and chases a mirage, so I have turned away from you, my Lord. Aside from my being attached to ISKCON because it is your institution, Srila Prabhupada, an objective observer by studying Shastra can see how ISKCON is perfectly equipped to elevate those who follow its tenets, not only to the platform of spontaneous devotional service, but also to Krishna Prema, the highest perfection of life. As you often suggested, one may stay in ISKCON to attain the perfection of life and devotional service. But then what does it mean to stay in ISKCON? Is this a legal matter? Does one need a membership card to prove one's allegiance? Or must one live in an ISKCON temple ashram or near an ISKCON community? If not, then what does it mean to be in ISKCON? My proposal is that one who believes in and follows your mood and method of performing devotional service is in ISKCON. As ISKCON's founder Acharya, you chalked out a system that can be followed by all aspiring devotees, regardless of where they live or what their backgrounds may be. One who follows the system you've given to the best of his or her ability and cooperates with others who are doing so to spread the Sankirtan movement is not only in ISKCON, but is a liberated soul. You mentioned this in your purport to Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya 1189. Quote, a devotee is always thinking of how better to serve Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and how to broadcast his name, fame, and qualities throughout the world. One who is Nityasiddha has no business other than broadcasting the glories of the Lord all over the world according to his ability. Such people are already associates of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Therefore, Narottam Das Thakur says, Nitya Siddha Kadi Mane. One should not think that because Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was personally present 500 years ago, only his associates were liberated. Rather, Srila Narottam Das Thakur says that anyone is a Nitya Siddha if he acts on behalf of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by spreading the glories of the holy name of the Lord. We should respect those devotees preaching the glories of the Lord as Nitya Siddhas and should not consider them conditioned. And that's the end of the quote from the CC. On the other hand, one who lives in or near an ISKCON community but does not have faith in you or the system that you've established, and who therefore neglects to follow your mood and method of practicing devotional service and of cooperation, may be said to be, quote, not connected to ISKCON. Such a person, although connected to ISKCON by physical proximity, may not actually be in ISKCON. People sometimes say, ISKCON is an institution. I don't like institutions. But perhaps the following definition of institution will help those who recoil at the word institution to reconsider their cynical opinion about ISKCON being an institution. According to Joseph O'Connell, the late preeminent academic scholar of Gaudiya Vaishnavism, an institution is the means by which one transfers a particular culture across time and geography. And culture, he suggests, is the set of values that a given community holds as real, right, and valuable. With this helpful definition, Srila Prabhupada, I propose that the institutional side of ISKCON is intact. That is, ISKCON devotees are working together to the best of their ability to imbibe and transmit Lord Chaitanya's teaching throughout the world, following in your footsteps. At Srimad Bhagavatam 10.230, the demigods, in one of their prayers to Krishna while he was within the womb of Devaki, tell us why following the pure devotee and his system is effective. They say that following in the footsteps of great saints, like you, Srila Prabhupada, is mahatkritena, quote, and in italics, the best means of crossing over the ocean of material existence. They further explain that self-effulgent, empowered souls who strictly follow the parampara and set up systems leave these systems behind to make it easy for others to go back to Godhead just by following their systems. Srila Prabhupada, in your purport to Srimad Bhagavatam 10.231, you confirm this principle. Quote, Krishna will accept a devotee who strictly follows the regulative principles and the method prescribed in the various books and literatures published by the authorities. The Acharya gives the suitable method for crossing the ocean of nescience by accepting the boat of the Lord's lotus feet. And if this method is strictly followed, the followers will ultimately reach the destination by the grace of the Lord. Close quote. The way of following in the footsteps of great souls is called Acharya Sampradaya. The perfect process the great souls leave behind is called Mahatkritena. And the worship of the great souls who establish these processes, especially by following them, is called Acharya Upasana. Sutta Goswami also mentions this principle at Srimad Bhagavatam 1.2.25. Quote, previously all the great sages rendered service unto the personality of Godhead due to his existence above the three modes of material nature. They worshipped him to become free from material conditions and thus derive the ultimate benefit. Whoever follows such great authorities is also eligible for liberation from the material world. Close quote. Lord Krishna hints at this principle in the Bhagavad Gita 13.26. Quote, again, there are those who, although not conversant in spiritual knowledge, begin to worship the Supreme Person upon hearing about him from others. Because of their tendency to hear from authorities, they also transcend the path of birth and death. Thus, we can be sure that those who follow the system given by great souls are also eligible to achieve the same exalted spiritual results that these great souls have attained, even if such followers have no other qualification than their penchant for following authority. Those who follow you, the most exalted of acharyas, by faithfully following your mood and method, will therefore know success. But some argue, Srila Prabhupada, that you only gave the basics of devotional service, Vaidhi Bhakti. To learn spontaneous devotional service, Raganuga Bhakti, they say, one must align oneself with a different teacher or organization. This is a mistaken idea. Anyone who makes even a cursory study of the regular practices followed by ISKCON devotees will see that these devotees are following the tenets of Srimad Bhagavatam and the teachings of the six Goswamis. At Srimad Bhagavatam 3.29.15-19, Lord Kapila Dev explains that by the Vaidhi process, executing prescribed duties in devotional service, including regularly visiting the temple, respecting the spiritual master and the acharyas, controlling the senses, and so on. By doing that, one becomes fully qualified with all transcendental attributes, and his consciousness is thus completely purified. At that time, he is immediately attracted simply by hearing Krishna's name or hearing of Krishna's transcendental qualities. Thus, those in ISKCON who strictly follow are already on the path of Raganuga Bhakti, as they are followers of Srimad Bhagavatam and the six Goswamis of Vrindavan. Such practitioners will attain not only Raganuga with full taste and realization, but also Raganuga's goal, Prema Bhakti. Srila Prabhupada, you explain this in chapter 19 of the Nectar of Devotion. Quote, in the beginning, a devotee is engaged in the regulative principles of devotional service by the order of his spiritual master. When one thereby becomes completely purified of all material contamination, there develops an attachment and taste for devotional service. This taste and attachment, when gradually intensified in the course of time, becomes love. Close quote. What's more, all our Vaishnav Shastras say that when one chants the Hare Krishna mantra under the order of the Guru and Shastra, his or her taste will develop. For example, in the last verse of his Sharanagati, Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains how the holy name has taken him by the hand back to Goloka. But most importantly, ISKCON devotees worship Lord Chaitanya as their universal Guru. When one worships the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya, one automatically develops love for Radha and Krishna in Vrindavan. Srila Prabodhananda Saraswati Thakur writes in his Chaitanya Chandramrita, Yata yata goda padara vinde vindeta bhaktim krita punya rashi tata tatot sarpita rinya kasmat radha padambo jasodhangsha rashi. To the degree that we surrender to Lord Chaitanya's service, to that degree we gain qualification for the service to Srimati Radharani's lotus feet in Braj. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes in his Navadvip Dham Mahatmya that by performing menial service to the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya in Dasya Ras, for instance by spreading his Sankirtan movement, one develops spontaneous bhakti. And Narottam Das Thakur in his song Sa Varana Shri Gaura Mahima confirms, Gaura Prema Vasarnave Se Tarange Jebe Dube Se Radha Madhava Antaranga. Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement is an ocean of nectar, and one who dives deep within that ocean will come out on the shore of the pastimes of Radha and Krishna. Srila Prabhupada, Krishna sent you from Vrindavan to the west to show all the people in the world how to achieve these goals. We, the devotees of ISKCON of Silicon Valley, have therefore taken shelter of you by reading your books, executing your explicit and implicit orders, and following your mood and method of performing devotional service. By doing so, we are tasting your mercy and living very happy lives under your shelter. Your servants at ISKCON of Silicon Valley, California, USA, written by Vyasa-puja Das. Very important offering. And now, if you give me a second here, we'll read Giriraj Swami's offering. We may have time for another one. We'll see. Okay. Well, this whole lesson about how we can achieve the highest levels of bhakti in ISKCON. No. Oh, Giriraj Swami's? It's really sweet, and we have a disciple and a couple of aspiring disciples, so I thought that would be appropriate. Okay. 20. Okay. This should work. It works if I press the right buttons. Otherwise it doesn't work. All right. All right, that's not going to work. Sorry. Okay, here we are. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Vishesha Shunyavadi Paschacha Desha Tarine. Title of this offering is Meeting My Perfect Master. Dear Srila Prabhupada, I wish to tell you about my journey to meet you and how your journey to meet me was effective. In my youth, I aspired to attain perfect happiness, and soon I realized that such happiness could not be achieved materially, but only spiritually. And through reading spiritual books, I came to understand that to achieve spiritual perfection, I needed a guru. In fact, I read that I didn't even have to choose the guru. He was already there. All I had to do was find him. So whenever I heard about a guru anywhere, even 1,000 miles away, I would go to meet him. One teacher I met was a Zen master, supposedly enlightened and certified by another enlightened master in Japan. I had read a book he had written, and when I heard he was holding a three-day retreat at his ashram in Rochester, New York, I went. Upon my arrival, I found that his students were not very happy, but I thought, anyway, they're just students. Let me meet the master. During the retreat, he held meditation sessions in which everyone had to sit up straight and look at the wall, concentrating on some object he had placed there. The master walked around with a stick, and if he thought any of us was falling asleep or that someone's mind was wandering, he would hit the offender. After one such session, some of his students asked him about his recently having become angry. Yes, it's true, he said. I lost my temper. I shouldn't have. I started to doubt whether he was my guru. Still, I had read that a Zen master might appear ordinary and that one might not recognize him. So I thought, maybe this is part of it. But my doubt remained. Later he came to Boston, near Brandeis University, where I was studying. After his talk and demonstration, someone in the audience asked about Vedanta. I have enough trouble keeping up with Zen, he answered. How do you expect me to know about Vedanta? My previous doubt was confirmed, and I thought, he is not my perfect master. Then a Hatha yogi came to Brandeis to give a lecture. He had long hair and a beard and flowing robes. He said that by yoga you could attain complete mastery over your bodily functions, including the movements of your bowels. You could actually command your intestines. Ascending colon, advance. Transverse colon, advance. Descending colon, advance. And finally, rectum, pass. I was really looking for a guru, so I thought, anyway, maybe. It's pretty funny, actually. After the lecture, I tried to meet the Swami, but he was leaving for the airport. I wanted to ride with him in his car, but there was no room. So I rode with some of his students. On the way, they discussed the various foods they missed since they had joined the ashram. So I started to have some doubts. But then I thought, anyway, they're just the students. The master may be on a much higher level. When we arrived at the airport, I beheld the Swami. There he was, long flowing hair, beard, draping orange robes, a flower in his hair, a twinkle in his eyes, the very picture of Indian spirituality. But then I saw him tightly embracing his women disciples, and I knew, he's not my perfect master. I have to keep looking. Next I heard of an enlightened psychology professor who was teaching at Antioch College in Ohio, which was known as a progressive university, and I wanted to meet him immediately. Ready to do anything to find my guru, I got in my car and drove the 700 miles. When I arrived, with great anticipation and eagerness, I searched out the professor's office and inquired about him from his secretary. He's playing golf, she informed me. Playing golf? I asked incredulously. I thought he was supposed to be enlightened. That is his Zen, she replied. Oh no, I thought, playing golf? He is not my perfect master. Although I was disappointed about the professor, the Antioch campus was full of people interested in spiritual life, and while I was there, I spoke with some of them. Some students in the student union told me about a guru who had recently visited the campus. The guru is in the heart, he had said, where he sits on a lotus flower. You can actually see him and speak with him. Wow, I thought, that sounds attractive. That night I tried to really focus on my heart. And indeed, I got a definite impression that there was a divine personality there, with whom I could have a sublime personal relationship, and he seemed just about to speak. I was very excited, and I became eager to meet him. Back at Brandeis, one of my psychology professors invited J. Krishnamurti to speak. I attended the lecture, and during a break, I told my professor that I wanted to meet Krishnamurti. Why, my professor asked. I may want him as my guru, I replied. Oh, he doesn't accept disciples, my professor said. He doesn't even touch money. My professor was impressed, but I wasn't. I thought, if he's actually able to help people, why should he refuse to take disciples? Just to be renounced? He's not my perfect master. I kept searching. I already had the idea that you don't have to choose your guru, that he's already there. I even had a mental picture of what he looked like, and he didn't have hair. All the swamis, that's interesting, forgot that part. All the swamis and yogis I had encountered had long hair and beards, so I was starting to despair. How am I ever going to meet my guru? Then one day I saw a poster on campus, lecture, Bhagavad Gita as it is, Swami Bhaktivedanta. My friends and I were supposed to go to the movies that night, but I wanted to attend the lecture instead. When I suggested that, however, one friend in particular got really upset. Why can't you be normal like other people? She complained. All you want to do is see swamis and yogis. And the argument became so intense that I decided not to go. I didn't want to disappoint my friends. So I tried to go along with their idea. But something inside me was impelling me to go to the lecture. Finally, I said, okay, let's go to a later show. But first I have to go to the lecture by the Swami. I promise. He will be the last one I go see. My friends reluctantly came along, but because we'd been arguing, we arrived at the auditorium late and missed the lecture. Entering the auditorium, I beheld an elderly Indian gentleman, sitting on a cushion on stage. To the side, a young devotee, Satsvarup Das, sang into a microphone, and other devotees were dancing in a circle around you. The sound of Satsvarup's singing was reverberating off the bare brick walls. One by one, students from the audience jumped onto the stage and joined in. I felt like going up too, but I knew my friends wouldn't approve. That would have been too much for them. More students were jumping up, climbing on the stage, and joining the circle, dancing. I kept trying to focus my eyes on you, but I couldn't. Your effulgence was too great. When the kirtan ended, one of the devotees announced that they needed a lift to Harvard Square or to Boston. As my friends and I were still going to the movie, and it was at Harvard Square, I invited the devotees to ride with us, and everyone piled into my station wagon. I was driving, and also in front were two ladies. In the back seat, there were 3 or 4 devotees, and in the rear compartment were my friends, and I don't know how many more. I don't think we could have fit anyone else. Satsvarup was squeezed in the rear with my best friend, Gary. Because of our impersonal readings, my friend was saying that ultimately everything was void. And Satsvarup was saying there is no void in the creation of God. But my friend kept insisting, everything is ultimately void. I was overhearing them from the front, and puffed up as I was, I thought, oh, how silly that they are arguing over this. I thought I had it all figured out. So I turned to the back and announced something I had read in some Zen book. It is not void, and it is not void, and it is not void. But to give it a name, we call it the void. I thought I had resolved the whole controversy, but they kept arguing. One of the ladies up front with me was Janava. I had been trying to understand all the different paths and philosophies, so I asked her about Zen. This world seems real, she said, but it is illusory, like images on a movie screen. Now, if you withdraw your consciousness from the screen, you will find that there is a beam of light. I thought, this is the best explanation I've ever heard, even better than the Zen books. And if you keep following that beam of light back, she continued, you come to a point. I thought, wow, this is getting to the void. But then she said, but behind that point, there is a projector, and behind the projector, there is a person. Then I thought, this philosophy encompasses everything that Zen does and more. Then I asked her about Yogananda. She dismissed him out of hand. Oh, he's just a shopkeeper. Whatever you want, he keeps in stock. You want yoga, he will give you that. Whatever you ask for, he pulls off the shelf. Then she said, at his ashram in California, he has a Gandhi Peace Memorial. But Gandhi wasn't a worker for world peace. He was a politician who wanted to drive the British out of India. She just dismissed him. He doesn't even know who Gandhi is. She's speaking with authority, I thought. But I sensed that it couldn't all be coming from her. How is it possible for a girl of only 20 or so to have so much knowledge and speak with such authority? Then I thought, this must be coming from her teacher. I want to meet him. When we got to Harvard Square, I let the devotees out. But as I was driving away, I realized that I didn't know how to get in touch with them. How would I meet their guru? How would I meet the guru? I immediately stopped the car, jumped out, and ran after them. I caught up to one, Patita Pavan. When he stopped, he turned his head and pointed to the crowd around us. You see these people, he said? They're all sleepwalkers. Sleepwalkers. They don't know what they're doing or why. They're just conforming. His words were so intriguing and deep, I wanted to hear more. Suddenly I became aware of the honking of horns all around us. I'd left my car in the middle of the roundabout, and the traffic at Harvard Square was backed up. The honking kept getting louder. I wanted to meet the Swami, I said. Quick, give me the address. He jotted down the address on a slip of paper and handed it to me. Come at 7, he said, tomorrow night. I could hardly wait. The next evening when I arrived, the small storefront temple was packed with young people. You were sitting on a cushion at the far end. The walls were decorated with exotic paintings, and the aroma of incense filled the air. When you began speaking, I had difficulty understanding what you were saying. You had a thick Bengali accent, and the philosophy was new to me. But I did hear you say that out of many thousands of men, one would seek perfection. That's me, I thought. He's talking about me. After the lecture, you called for questions. Someone asked, since everything comes from God or Krishna, does Maya also come from Krishna? You replied that everything comes from Krishna just like everything comes from the sun. The cloud also comes from the sun, although it covers our vision of the sun. But the sun is never covered by the cloud, only our vision is covered. I was burning to ask my question. There are so many swamis and yogis, I began, and each recommends a different process of self-realization, and each says that his is the best. So how do I know which is actually best? You responded, what is your goal? Do you want to serve God, or do you want to become God? How brilliant, how perfect. I was asking about the means, but to determine the best means, we must first establish the end, the goal. He continued, when you seek after God, then God, who is situated within your heart, will give you all facility. But if you want to become God, you will be cheated. You are cheating yourself. How you can become God? You are trying to become God, then how you become a dog? God cannot become a dog. God is always God. The Mayavadi philosopher says that I am God, but by Maya I am thinking I am not God. So by meditation I shall become God. But that means he is under the punishment of Maya. God has come under the influence of Maya? How is that? God is great, and if he is under the influence of Maya, then Maya becomes greater than God. So the idea is that as long as we shall continue this hallucination that I am God, there is no question of getting the favor of God. Then you do your own business and try to find yourself whether you are God or something else. As soon as I think I am God, I am cheating myself. Who will help you? That is going on. Everyone is thinking, I am God. So Prabhupada continues, so what are you thinking? You are trying to become God? What is your idea? Or are you thinking there is no God? I replied, I am thinking that there is God. There is God? You were thinking like that? But I knew that I couldn't cheat you. So I replied, yes, but I can see that I was trying to become God. So you are trying to become God. That means you are not God, is it not? How you became not God? God is so great that he never becomes not God. So your conclusion should be that I am not that God who is great. I am a different God who becomes sometimes not God. Therefore you are a different God from that God who is great, is it not? That is a fact. Because you are part and parcel of God, you are minute. You are minute God. Therefore you have the potency of becoming not God. Just like a fire and a spark of the fire. A spark, when it is in the fire, is bright fire. But as soon as it goes out of the fire, it becomes extinguished. But the big fire never becomes extinguished. Similarly, you are not that big fire. You are that small spark. You have fallen down. Therefore you are not God. Now you have to raise yourself again to the fire, and you will again be a blazing spark. So that is the difference. That is stated in the Vedic literature. Every living entity is Brahman, but the supreme Brahman is Krishna. He never becomes not God. We see in Krishna's life, when he was a child on the lap of his mother, he was God. So many demons were killed. He didn't have to meditate to become God. While he was playing, he was God. And when he was fighting on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, he was God. All right. I'm sorry about this. This is not working right. What have I done? Oh, I went way beyond. We'll finish it. Just give me a second. Oh. Yeah, okay. When he was fighting on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, he was God. That is God. Not that sometimes not God, sometimes God. That is not God. God is always God in any circumstance. That is God. As you were speaking, I got the clear impression that you knew everything about me, that you were seeing right into me, into Waltham, into my apartment, into my bathroom, right to the wall on which I had pasted a sign I had inscribed in beautiful, ornate lettering, "You are God," on the mirror, on the wall. My search was over. I offered my obeisances. I had found my spiritual master. The devotees put their heads on the floor and offered obeisances. I also kept my head on the floor in surrender for a long time. I felt so glad. I had finally found my perfect master and wanted to surrender fully. At the same time, I also felt ashamed and humiliated. My abominable desire to become God had been exposed. Everyone there knew I had wanted to become God. After some time, I heard the sounds of devotees bringing plates of food, prasadam, to their guests. Something inside prompted me to look up. I expected everyone would be glaring at me, but no. People were blissfully taking prasadam, and when they saw me get up, they simply smiled. Moments earlier, when the devotee had offered you a large plate of prasadam, you had responded, "I am not God. I cannot eat so much." The prasadam was given. The prasadam I was given looked just like everything else in the temple, colorful, attractive, and variegated. Because of macrobiotics and other speculations, I never expected a feast. Where to begin? I picked up what must have been a cauliflower pakora, put it in my mouth, bit into it, and felt an explosion of taste. One by one, I sampled the preparations, the badas, sweet rice, every taste new, incomparable. I thought everything was perfect. The guru, the prasadam, the chanting. I loved the chanting. The devotees had a sign with the Hare Krishna mantra written in Indian-style lettering. During the kirtan, as I was looking at the letters on the sign, they started to move, dissolve, form, and unform themselves. This was the kind of indication I'd been looking for, and everything told me that you were indeed my spiritual master. From the time you answered my question, and I bowed my head, I surrendered. From that first meeting, my whole life's purpose became to bring people to you. And I was able to do that for many years, but when you passed away, I wondered, what will be my service now? My whole service had been to bring people to you. Now I understand that you are always present, and that by speaking of you, hearing about you, remembering you, and most significantly, by studying your books and following your instructions, by practicing and preaching Krishna consciousness, serving your mission, we can experience your presence. So I can continue doing what I was doing when you were personally present, introducing souls to you, which is what I feel most natural doing. Because I know that somehow or other, if someone comes in touch with you, his life will be successful. Hare Krishna, your eternal, humbled servant. Giriraj Swami. I had forgotten some of the wonders of this offering. Really sweet. Okay. I'm sorry? No, I never did. Not before I started working on this offering. All right, we have time for one moderately short one, but I have to pick that one out, so. Well, let's read Radhanath Swami's offering. It's short, but nice and important. I'm sorry, I hadn't thought about the navigation of this thing so much. Okay. Okay, that's on page 40, plus 50, 55. Okay. Dear Srila Prabhupada, please accept my heartfelt obeisances. This year we are grateful to present to you a very special offering. For the first time since 1930, devotees have been entrusted with the full care of the rooftop terrace of number 1 Ultadanga Junction Road in Calcutta. The divine pastime that took place there in 1922 is our very life and soul. It was here that you first met your eternal Guru Maharaj, His Divine Grace Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada. At the commencement of that first meeting, a seed was planted in your heart. Your Guru Maharaj instructed you to spread the love of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu throughout the world in the English language. The seed of this instruction germinated in your heart for 43 years. Then in 1965 it sprouted as you left India on a cargo ship, the MV Jaladuta. You told us that when you arrived in New York City you had nothing except a crate of your translations of Srimad Bhagavatam and this instruction of your Guru Maharaj. Soon that seed grew into a glorious desire tree with hundreds of branches around the world and millions of followers in the form of your loving devotees. These flowers have distributed hundreds of millions of the same seeds in the form of your books, Harinam Sankirtan, Prasadam distribution, and numerous other outreach activities. In 1922, the house on Ultadanga was called Bhaktivinoda Asam. It was the place where your Guru Maharaj began the outreach of his Gaudiya Math. In March of this year, we acquired this historic but sadly neglected property. Days after, I sat on the rooftop terrace in my heart's meditation. I sat on the rooftop terrace, and in my heart's meditation, I could almost see, hear, and feel your interaction with your Guru Maharaj, an exchange that would fulfill the prophecy of Lord Chaitanya and would forever change the world. I am praying that devotees from all over the world will come here to have this experience. On many occasions you spoke about this pastime. I was very happy to be defeated by my Guru Maharaj. At that moment, I accepted Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur as my eternal master. I took this order of my Guru Maharaj as my life and soul. My only qualification is that I have tried to carry out the instruction of my Guru Maharaj. In 1973, in Los Angeles, on the disappearance day of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, you spoke about this event. The words you spoke at that time have awakened in me a profound appreciation for all my God brothers and God sisters, especially for your beloved Gunagrahi Goswami Maharaj, who recently departed in Vrindavan. You revealed your heart to your followers. A quote from Prabhupada. What he desired, I am trying little bit, and you are all helping me. So I have to thank you more. You are actually representative of my Guru Maharaj. And then Prabhupada starts crying at this point. Because you are helping me to execute the order of my Guru Maharaj. Thank you very much. We are hopeful that in 2022, on the 100th anniversary of the historic first meeting with your Guru Maharaj in Calcutta, the temple of the Vedic Planetarium in Sri Mayapur Dham will be inaugurated. It will be an offering of love and gratitude to you by the worldwide community of devotees, with special thanks to Ambarish Prabhu. Dear Srila Prabhupada, the oceans you crossed to give us Krishna consciousness are like insignificant puddles compared to the limitless oceans of your love for Radha Govinda Dev and your compassion upon all living beings. I pray that it is forever remembered that the only qualification of all your followers for all generations is their deep appreciation for you and your shoreless ocean of compassion. Helplessly praying for your mercy, a servant of your servants, Radhanath Swami. Okay, we'll read another short one, and then we'll adjourn. Now I have to go back to here. All right, we'll read Devamrita Swami's. All right. Dear Srila Prabhupada, please accept my most respectful obeisances at your lotus feet. 41 years have passed since you departed from the ordinary vision of this world. Those 4 decades without your physical presence have brought your followers both humbling setbacks and exhilarating breakthroughs. The amazing tribute to you is that with all our variegation and diversity, we still march on, seeking your pleasure. In your Gita purport to 12:14, you state that a devotee is a completely perfect mystic because he is fixed in the instructions received from the spiritual master. The aspiration for this pinnacle of bhakti mysticism I hold high on my head, the same place where I would love for your lotus feet to rest. Whatever years or days I have left in this body, I beg that my sensitivity to your words and desires increases daily. I have been under your shelter for more than twice the number of years I have lived without it. Noting that expanse of time in your service, I seek protection from the nemesis of familiarity and casualness in the guru-disciple relationship. In Kali Yuga, the ravages of time spare no one. Anything not spiritually tied down, fixed in maturing bhakti, will deteriorate. Therefore, I long for a closer walk with you. This is my plea. Grant it, Srila Prabhupada, if you please. Your insignificant servant, Devamrita Swami. Okay. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hari Hari Bol.